Hello everyone, welcome back to Real Reds Talking Authentic Football Fan Channel made in Manchester. This is your exclusive early access members video. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at why Liam Delap could be a really useful striker for Manchester United, but also could be a massive gamble and set us back years if he doesn't work out. So first, we're going to take a look at our current struggles in the forward areas, why we need a striker in the first place, what got us to the dance. Second, we're going to take a look at Liam Delap's career so far and his rise through the ranks. Third, we'll take a look at how he can fit into Ruben Amorim's system and what his strengths are and weaknesses. And last, how much this deal could set us back, what it means for other targets, and what it means for Rasmus Højlund's career going forward. So make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. So let's discuss our current struggles then. We've all watched us this season. We know in front of goal we've been absolutely awful. And at the time of recording the show, we are currently 15th in the Premier League for goals scored. Just 37 goals in total for Manchester United. Our two main strikers have 6 goals between them in the Premier League. So 3 goals each, which is only 16% of our goals scored by our strikers. And if you split that in half, obviously because they both got 3, that's 8%. Only 8% of our goals have been scored by our main number 9, Rasmus Højlund. Now, in comparison to other teams, if we look at other Premier League clubs, Newcastle, for example, in total have scored 52 goals in the league. Isaac has scored 20 of those, which shows he's responsible for 38%. You go to Manchester City, who scored 57 goals as well, a few more than Newcastle. Haaland has 21 goals, which is just below 37% of City's total. And you can go to other ones as well. You get Salah, for example, others. Key attacking players who are putting up the numbers, right? And ours are just simply not doing that, not even getting close to that, not even doing half of that, which is nowhere near good enough. If we go to the wide attackers, Alejandro Garnacho, for example, he has had 64 shots in the Premier League in total and has only scored 4 of them. That's a conversion rate of 6.25%. Only Eberechi Eze has had more and missed more, and he's at the woodwork 5 times. So those conversion rates kind of call it what you want. But that is way off the standard that we need. And you don't even need statistics to tell you that. If you've watched Garnacho this season, you know he's been doing that, getting into really awkward areas where he can't particularly score from, areas where the XG wouldn't favour, and he's just rash shots, going over the bar, going wide, snapping at him, and just making awful decisions in the most important areas. Not only that, we are 9th in the table for most chances missed, 49, just 1 below Manchester City. We are mid-table for shots on target per game, so 4.5. And if we start to take that to individuals, Rasmus has 0.3 shots on target per game, and Xerxes has 0.4. We are seeing centre-backs in the Premier League with better averages than that. Mikulenkovic, Gabriel, go and have a look at him. Shots per game more than our own strikers. This is a big, big problem. So you can clearly see we are struggling at the business end of the pitch, and there is context to that, of course. There's the attacking phase is not quite building up. The players aren't gelling up top. The strikers aren't finishing. They're not putting balls into the box. There's loads of areas you can go with this. But I think one thing that is factual, we need a seasoned striker who has a gold standard of delivering goals and scoring goals wherever he goes. However, we are strongly linked at the moment as the number 1 target. I just done that. A number 1 target according to ESPN with Liam Delap. So let's take a look at his career so far, what he could potentially offer, how he fits into the system, and what it's going to cost us. So Liam Delap's career, for anyone who doesn't know, I'll give you a quick crash course. He began his footballing journey with Derby County Academy at the age of 6 years old. Spent a decade there before joining Manchester City's youth setup in 2019. In his early career at Manchester City, he made an immediate impact, notably scoring in the final of the 2020 Under-18 Premier League Cup. He debuted for City's first team on September 24, 2020, netting a goal in a 2-1 EFL Cup victory over Bournemouth. 3 days later, he made his Premier League debut against Leicester City. Despite these kind of early appearances, opportunities were limited at Man City, so he was looking elsewhere. I think it's important with his time at Manchester City to mention his relationship with Jason Wilcox, who is our current technical director, who was instrumental in bringing Delap into City's academy from Derby County in 2019. So obviously that's where the links are coming from. I would imagine it's probably him who's pushing this move quite a lot. He knows him really, really well, knows his qualities, what he's capable of, and we'll get into that a little bit later. In terms of his loan spells, looking for more first-team experience, he had a couple. He was at Stoke, where he scored 3 goals in 22 appearances. He went to Preston North End, where he had 1 goal in 15 matches, and then he went to Hull, where it's slightly improvement, found the net 8 times in 31 games, and was named Hull City Player of the Month for December 2023. So slowly improving, nothing kind of, starstruck or outstanding, but he's learning his trade. He's getting better and better, like many young British players do. Jared Branthwaite, for example, PSV, Blackburn, Carlisle. The most important move, though, was the move to Ipswich Town in July 2024. He transferred, obviously Ipswich just got promoted. He signed for Ipswich on a 5-year contract for £20 million. Scored his first goal for the club on August the 31st in a 1-1 draw with Fulham. And by now, as of April the 9th, as we're speaking, he's accumulated 12 goals in 31 Premier League appearances, making him a standout performer. Despite Ipswich struggling, being near the relegation zone, he's still a concrete bagsman. Look, his form in general can be kind of attributed to several factors when you look at him as an actual player and what he's getting from Ipswich. McKenna being a fantastic coach first and foremost, and knowing how to work with young players, his experience at United is unrivaled. His constant playing time, obviously he's always playing for Ipswich week in, week out. That's so important for young players. His physical attributes, his height and strength make him this kind of formidable presence in the league, because we know the kind of centre-backs that he's coming up against. It's tough, it's physical. Rasmus Højlund knows all about that. He is a clinical finisher. He definitely is. He's got a keen eye for goal. He likes to capitalise on opportunities, and that's why his numbers are in the double figures. And then not only that as well, his versatility and work rate for a player, his ability to adapt to different attacking roles, and his relentless pressing as well aligns well with modern Premier League demands. But is he ready to take that next step? This is the one thing at the back of my mind when I'm talking about him. Like, anyone who's watched this channel, I've gone on about it for so long, saying we need that, and I'm not going to ramble about it. That gold standard 20 to 30 goal striker, right? It might be a little bit on the spenny side, but we need someone to deliver right now. So this is the conversation, or this is the reoccurring thing that will keep happening when we're talking about Liam Delap as a player. I think he needs more years under his belt as a Premier League player. You see what happened with Jude Bellingham, for example, when he was like, should I go United? Should I go? I'll take the steps to Dortmund, then I'll make the big move to Madrid. I feel like he needs that in-between move and then go. But the issue is, because there's so much competition and sharks around Europe who are looking for that, who are willing to take a gamble on a striker and build them into that next one. And it feels like everyone's going down that recruitment line now. It's difficult. It's difficult. You have to almost gamble. And that's the weird situation that we find ourselves in. So if United decide to go for this player and we do get him, how would he fit into this system? So Amarin's 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, 4-2-2. It's very flexible in and out of possession. Call it whatever you want, right? But the system alone does rely on a mobile, aggressive striker who can press, stretch defences, and link the 2-10s inside forwards, whatever you want to call them, right? So Liam Delap as an individual, explosive, pace, power. He is a bullish centre forward in the transition. He brushes off defenders in the Premier League. I go back to it before what I was talking about. The centre-backs you're coming up against, that is impressive, him doing that, because you have your Canates, Van Dijks, Van der Vens, the big boys, Gabriel, Salibas. It's a tough league to be physically present, and he does that. If we focus on his direct running ability, he likes to attack space, stretch the back lines, and he's a constant outlet for Ipswich. If you want to go long to him, if you want to play it in behind, if you want to play to feet, you have those kind of a multitude of options with him. I think 75% of the strikers nowadays as well, when you look at the Prem, with the odd exception with Haaland and Calvert-Lewin, modern coaches love players who are relentless and pressing machines and battle for every single ball. Delap fits that mould. Just does. He's an instinctive finisher. He's got that kind of real ballers will know what I'm talking about here. Quick snapshot strike in his locker. He's got that, right? That would be a play style if it was FIFA, and he thrives on chaos in the box like a bloodhound waiting for a fucking meal. So qualities of a striker, really, really top qualities we're talking about, which is why there's so many clubs interested. His movement in general is pretty decent, intelligent off-the-ball runs, drags defenders out for other players around him. So if he was in the United system, he would drag players. Garnacho and Fernandes would find much more space, but the issue is with that, if Garnacho does find that space, he would probably still miss. Like any young up-and-coming striker, he obviously has areas to improve on. And again, this is just in general my assessment, right? When I've watched him, this is my opinion. I think his hold-up play with his back to goal is still a little bit raw. I think that needs a little bit of refinement, which will come with experience and age. He lacks composure in certain moments. So 1v1 situations, for example, I think his head needs to be a little bit cooler. These are all experienced things, though, that come. No one, very rare when a player just naturally has that, especially with the first season in the Premier League. And although, like I mentioned before, he can link play, it isn't polished, to a premium level. We know Amarin likes a striker who can drop in, combine, make the run off in tight spaces. But I think his decision making can be rushed. So another area of improvement. Some may even argue that his technical ceiling isn't as high as a sporting style striker like a Victor Gyökeres. I disagree with this. I've watched him quite a lot now for Ipswich in the league, and I think his first touch, the way his low-driven shots, the way he brings it into, not just first touch, straight into, drilled into him, off the chest, down, body, those little tweaks in his game, I think is decent at. I think from a technical standpoint, he's pretty strong. But again, scouts and analysts disagree. That's fair. They probably know more than me. Most importantly, he's going to need time to adapt, right? And he's going to need detailed coaching, and he's going to need game time. He's going to need that game time that he's getting at Ipswich to continue. Do we have the luxury for time right now? I'm not so sure. This is why it keeps going back to it. I'm not going to repeat myself. You already know how I feel. You guys tell me who are watching. Do we have the time to be patient with Delap? Will the pressure of United get to him? It's questions that you can definitely throw out there. I think my general overarching view of Liam Delap, technically solid, scrappy, reminds me a little bit of Lewandowski in certain phases of play. Don't get carried away, people. I'm just saying in certain phases I can see similar traits. A proper traditional 9 is what I'm trying to say. Tenacious, needs work, could be the striker before the big one. If we're pushing back up towards competing with Europa League and Champions League, that kind of sphere, I think you could probably do well. If you're talking about competing for Premier League titles and Champions League titles, not right now. But that's not where we're at. We've got a few years before we get to there. So, do I think Delap's better than Rasmus Højlund? 100%. Yeah, I do think he's better than Rasmus Højlund right now as it stands. Who's got a higher ceiling? I'll leave that for the comments. Get it in the comments section. But let's talk about how much this deal could set us back. Because we had, funnily enough, I planned to record this video today. And we had news just before I went live when we was recording the show from The Guardian that Liam Delap's release clause is £30 million if Ipswich get relegated. Initially, it was thought that City have got a £40 million buyback option for Delap, but they're not going to plan to use it, and the fee was initially £40 million for any other club who were coming in. So Chelsea are interested. I think there's a few others in the Premier League as well. And with Ipswich being 12 points from safety with 7 games left, it's likely they are going to be relegated. So £30 million, people, we're talking about here. 30 million quid. His wages are reported around 20 to 50k a week at Ipswich, and he's got 4 years and 2 months remaining on his contract, but that means nothing because it's a release clause, so it's not as if they can bargain on it. It's 30 mil. That is the price. Pay it or fuck off. But with him being on those wages, United can go in and go, okay, we'll pay £30 million and we'll give you 75k a week. How does that sound? 25k bump. Ipswich are happy. Well, you don't get a choice because it's a release clause. You come to Man United, you're still playing in the Premier League. Chelsea might offer more. This is where the competition and the Sharks are circling and make the deal much more difficult. But let's say the case we land in for 75k a week, 5-year contract, £30 million fee. In total for United, that's going to cost about £50 million to sign him as a whole package. 50 million quid. And that's why United are looking at this deal and taking it very, very seriously, because it is so cost effective. If you go and sign Osman, who has a 65 million pound release clause, I think it is, and he wants 200 grand a week. I'm going to do very quick math off the top of my head for this, which would be 800k a month. You're looking at about over 10 million pound a year, 5-year contract. His contract alone is costing you 50 million quid. And then you pay the 65, 70 on top of that as well. So it's costing you over 100. It's costing you double what Liam Delap would cost. And in this climate that United are finding themselves at the minute, when they're making costs left, right and centre, this is why they are leaning more towards this kind of deal. Go and dive into the financials, the details. I'm not saying it's right, But that's why they are looking at it. And if they sell Garnacho, let's say, for example, in the summer for £60 million and his wages go off the bill, you're left with a bit of change on top of that. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see, one, what happens with Garnacho. Two, what happens with Rasmus Højlund as well. If we bring in Liam Delap, if you're Højlund, you're thinking, yeah, they've lost faith in me. I'm done here. I'm going to be a second striker. I'm going to be getting minutes here or there. Or he's going to be sold. There is interest in Italy. Napoli are interested in both players, I think, with Garnacho and Højlund. So, I mean, it'd go either way, couldn't it? You could Garnacho for Osimhen in some weird kind of swap deal. Maybe in that universe it'd work. Same thing with Rasmus Højlund. Maybe Conte's willing to take a chance with him and bring him to Napoli. I just don't know. I think it looks pretty bleak for Rasmus, though, if they are going to bring in a striker. And then the other targets as well, what happens with them? If Chelsea get Delap, does that mean we've got a direct run at Osimhen? Are Chelsea going to go back in for Osimhen? Because they seem to be very close to signing him. But apparently Saudi Arabia are favourites to sign Osimhen. So I don't know. I think it'd be a waste for Osimhen personally to go to Saudi Arabia. I think he's a super, super talented player, and he would be my numero one target to bring in. But Liam Delap's number one, according to a lot of credible journalists, whether people like it or not. So please do let us know what you thought of this breakdown in general. Do you like Liam Delap as a player? Would you pay the £30 million, or would you stick it out for a more premium striker who's going to score you 20, 30 goals? This has been your early access members video. Please do leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to become a Real Red Ultra member, which is about £3 a month, helps us pay for things like Canva and Photoshop and all this kind of jazz, just to support the channel, click the little join button next to the notification bell, become a Real Red Ultra, and we appreciate all the support and the love from you guys. I'll see you in the next one.